Welcome to Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast that talks about everything from Jesus to joinery. So, Tom, I learned a valuable lesson. I took Eli, my son, to go, he's 4, took him to go see monster trucks today after church. And it's in an arena, and it's like 3 blocks from where I work. And so instead of paying for parking by the arena, I just parked in my parking garage at work, and then we walked down, which is about 3 blocks, but it's been hot. It's like in the 90s and super warm out. And so get all the way down to the arena and we're going to walk in, and I realized you have to walk through metal detectors, and it dawned on me, I always have a pocket knife on me. I don't go anywhere without my pocket knife aside from the airport and, the courthouse, right? And I don't carry cheap pocket knives. Like the knives that I carry are nice quality knives. And so I asked the guy, I said, hey, do you guys have like a locker or something that I can rent for the couple hours to put this in? He's like, no, you either toss it or take it back to your vehicle. So we turned around, we walked all the way back to the truck, put it in the truck, turned around, walked all the way back, got inside, and we got some waters and some popcorn from the concession, found our seats. Everything's good. We got like gun muffs on, for the noise because it's gonna be really loud. And my son is he's always had kind of sensitive hearing, like loud things. He doesn't like, obviously like gunshots, or if a loud car goes by, it like startles him. He's only 4, right? And so I took him to monster trucks last year when he was 3, and he loved it. And so I thought this is going to be awesome. Well, they rev the monster trucks up and they start doing their thing. And about 15 minutes in, I look over and he's bawling his eyes out because he's scared because of the noise. And it was it was a night thing. So they turned all the lights down. They put LEDs on all the monster trucks, and there's lots of flashing lights and all kinds of, sensory overload. And so I looked down and he's bawling his eyes out, and he's like, I could see him. I want to go home. And I was like, that kind of stuff doesn't make me mad. I was like, yeah, I had gun muffs on. It was loud to me, and I'm a drummer, right? And so I don't have hearing as it is. And so I thought, okay, so we headed home, and he was a little upset about it because he wanted to see the monster trucks, but they scared him. And so he's like this weird, dichotomy of, I want to see him, but I'm scared of him. And so it's kind of a interesting afternoon, but nonetheless, don't carry a pocket knife into an arena. They don't like that. I thought for sure, I didn't think about it until we got up to it because it's an everyday carry thing. And so luckily I wasn't carrying a gun or nothing, just the knife, but I was like, I'll take it back to the truck and lock it in there. But yeah, so that's been my Sunday. But yesterday, Saturday, last year I was asked, and then I was re-asked this year to pull the float in our local parade for our church. We do a VBS float to promote our VBS, which is coming up in a few weeks. And so I got to pull a float, which it was nice. It was fun. Everything was good. It was really hot out, and I had all the windows down in the truck and no AC on because I wanted to hear like if they yelled or something, if they needed me to stop or something. So the sun's beating down in the truck. It's becoming just a hot box. And so I'm just sitting there putting, not even like I've got obviously a speedometer, but it also has a digital readout in the middle. It's not even registering I'm going a mile an hour. We're just, kind of slowly going along. And needless to say, it was it's been a hot weekend, just outside doing stuff, But how's your week been?
Our week has been weird. We had something happen to a transformer at our electric station here in town. And so for the last 3 days, for Thursday, our electricity went out for about 2.5, 3 hours. On Friday, I had a vehicle route, a truck in my shop that I needed to get done and back to the customer electricity went out for about 3.5 hours on Friday. So I ended up finishing at about 7 o'clock at night. So it was too late for him to come pick it up. And then last night, again, in the middle of the night, our electricity went out for about 5 or 6 hours. But thank goodness the temperatures have dropped the last couple of days. And so it was down in the 60s last night. We just opened up all the windows. But, yeah, just really peculiar. It almost makes you start wondering about the power grid. And too many people getting electric cars, I guess. I'm not sure what's going on. But, yeah, but praise God that it was, I say, not hot. It was only 91, 92 degrees today. But
is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Hey, that's better than the 102 that we were having last week. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah, man. So I personally will not be offended when fall gets here. I am tired of the heat. I'm ready for some cooler weather.
Yeah. It's been a hot summer. I just think in general, like here, it's been hot. It's been hot. I've heard you talk about it being hot. I got friends still in Tennessee that it's been really hot. Oh, I'm not a global warming guy, but I'd say it's pretty warm.
Yeah. Man, I swear it was hot like this when I was a kid, but the older I get, the more the heat affects me. So I'm all about some snow now.
Yeah, so just want to take some time to thank the patron supporters that we have. Patreon is a place that you can give back to the podcast if you feel blessed. And you can find us over on patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood. We also ask that you give us a 5-star review on Apple. Most of you are listening on an Apple device, and that goes a long way. And then we ask that you pray for the podcast and that you just ask that God use this podcast to bless him. So without further ado, Tom, you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, so ironically, most of the time I've met our guests through Instagram, but I actually never met our guest today. Anybody who knows me, I have a scroll saw. I love scroll sawing, and I was on YouTube one day and searching for a dog, and I can't remember if it was a dog or an owl that I saw done on her YouTube channel, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to go find this lady on Instagram. And when I went to her Instagram profile, that's where I saw the cross. I saw that she said she was Christian. I was like, we have got to get her on. So her name of her YouTube channel is Size Corner. But Cynthia Marshall, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
So my name is Cynthia, and I go by Cy. And so I started a YouTube channel in 2014, and it kind of just happened. I have a friend, or I have a cousin in Texas, and she wanted to see how I did in Tarso. She's like, I don't understand how you do this. I'm like, well, I'll make a video for you and I'll show you. So I made the video and I put it on YouTube just so she could see it. But I put it so everybody could see it. Well, pretty soon I was like, who else looked at the video? Because it had a whole bunch of views on it. So I thought, and that was fun process making the video. So I just kept making them. And it did take me more than one video to get the project done. The first one I did. So anyway, that's how it started. And it just went from there. And I'm like, this is fun. I think I'll stick with it.
That's cool. So you're located up in the Pacific Northwest area?
Yes. And when I started my channel, I was in Louisiana. Oh. So I was in Louisiana for 3 years. And my husband and I, his job took us there. So we were there for 3 years, and then we came back to Oregon.
Oh, wow.
And we lived in Newport for 2 years, and then we moved to Central Oregon, which is Prineville. So,
fantastic. Yeah. So obviously the name of our podcast is Faith Talks Wood, and our main focus is faith, with woodworking being the side. So tell us about your faith journey and how you came to know Jesus.
Well, when I was a kid, my mom took us to church and everything. So I grew up in church. I grew up in going to the school at the church and everything. But it wasn't until I was 12 that I accepted Jesus as my Savior. And when I was 13, my grandma gave me a Bible. So I had my first Bible, and I just started reading my Bible. And it took me, I did a chapter a day, and it took me 3 years to get through the whole Bible. But that was my start of reading my Bible. And it just has grown from there. Yeah. Had lots of changes over the years with my faith. And it's the best thing ever. And I've actually got to a point where I've really been studying a lot lately. Really, just that's all I want to do. I want to get up in the morning. I want to read and I want to study. And I'm almost liking that more than woodworking, which is big for me to say. But yeah, I'm there. I love woodworking, but it's studying and learning the most I can about God is, yeah, it's really filled me up.
That's awesome. Do you spot question, where are you at right now in your study? Where are you reading?
I'm reading. So I've been here for 2 days. I was with my mom in the coast for 3 days. So I'm actually behind 5 days in my Bible reading.
Oh no.
But I read 4 different sections at once. So
okay.
Proverbs read every month.
Yep.
So whatever the day is the chapter I'm on. So I'm behind. So I'm like on 19 or something. Yeah. What day is it? Yeah, I shouldn't be further than that. So anyway, then in Psalm right now, it started over again because I read Psalm twice a year. And so I'm like on Psalm 15 or so. And I'm just finished Matthew. So I'm just started in Mark, like on chapter 3 in Mark.
Yeah.
And then in the Old Testament, I'm in 2 Kings. But the reading plan I read in, it goes chronologically, basically.
Okay, gotcha.
So I've already read 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and now I'm in 2 Kings, which seems backwards, but this is the way the reading plan is.
Yeah. The chronological thing is interesting because in the New Testament, the earliest book is James, right? And so if you're going to read the New Testament chronologically, the first book of the New Testament would be James.
Yeah, so my reading plan doesn't do that, but
okay, gotcha.
But
if it's walking you through like the life of Jesus and the Gospels, it's going to do it that way. But that's pretty cool. Mark is a fun one. Mark is very action packed. When I read Mark, I think he's like, "Here's what's happening." Bam! Right? You're kind of there.
Yeah, Mark is like short and sweet, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah. That's good. So you said that your faith has taken some turns and some journeys, and I love the fact that you say that reading is kind of becoming your main focus in life, because honestly, it's been mine as well. And I know Tom is as well. And it really, about a year ago or so, really hit me because the way the culture was going, just a lot going on. I just felt moving from the Bible Belt back to Pennsylvania and like lots of stuff there. And so I've been in the Word studying, a lot as well. So, but you said your faith took some journeys, some turns. You lived in Louisiana. So is there any highlights or big turning points within your faith that you could speak on?
Yes. About 2 years ago, 2020 came around, and that was kind of a bummer deal for everybody. And it's like my blinders came off to things that we've been taught. I'm not talking spiritually, but just in general, things that it's like, well, that's not true, and that's not true, and how can that be true? So slowly, it's like, and it really made me focus on the more important things in life, which is my Bible and God and learning what He wants and all that. And so I've really gotten into learning that the whole Bible is important, not just certain parts of it, and all of it applies to me, not just part of it. Yeah. So that's been a big change for me.
Yeah. That's one thing, I was reading in 2 Timothy Day, in chapter 3, where it says all scripture is good for teaching and rebuking and training in righteousness. And, but I'm pretty much like you, so ironically, when I was a kid, I didn't read a lot. I did go to church when I was young, but when I was in school, I was a student that read the first and last chapter of the Cliff Notes, and then I wrote my book report. And I never read a book until about 10 years ago. I started back reading my Bible, and I started reading a chapter a day. And then I got on the 1-year reading plan. I've read about 5 different plans through, but now I'm the same way in the morning. It's nothing for me to sit up and look at the clock like, oh my God, I've been reading for 2 hours now, and I got to get to work, because I'm just hungry for it. And I wish I had been this way when I was younger, but I wasn't.
Oh, I know.
But,
Can you imagine what you would know now or understand now? Or maybe you wouldn't, because I'm finding the more I learn and read, the more I realize I don't know.
oh man, every time I read through the
Yeah.
Bible, and I'm in Ezekiel right now, and you see scriptures that you're like, I know this was here the last time I read it, but I don't remember it. It's like something different pops out. And I think it has in relation to where we are in life, what's going on in the world at that time. And it's but I can't get enough of it. I just want to keep reading.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's
I hear
awesome.
you. Yeah.
I do like that.
So
I was going to say, I do like that plan where you're reading a little bit of New Testament, Old Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs. The very first time I read through the Bible, my pastor recommended a plan like that where I read a little bit of each day. And that way, when you got in that section of the Old Testament where who begot who, you still had a proverb to read where you felt inspired. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, works good.
Well, all these books that I would be like, why are these books in here? Why do we have to read these? I actually enjoy them now, and I'm understanding. It's like, oh, okay, this is the character of God, our Creator. I mean, this is how He is. He doesn't change ever. So it's like, I better pay attention to what it's saying here. And wow,
Yep.
yeah.
One of the things I've gotten into, specifically the New Testament, is not learning Greek, but looking up root words and actual meanings, right? Because what happened to me about a year and a half ago is I went down a translation rabbit hole, not to disprove or prove any translations for the most part, but I just wanted to know more about translation and how it came to be. And so right there on my nightstand, there are 4 Bibles. Every one of them is a study Bible, and every one of them is a different translation. And what I find is that I'll read one, like the ESV, right? A little more literal, and I'll read it and I'll be like, I'll pick up the NLT and I'll read it. I'll be like, oh, and then I'll read it from the CSB and I'll be like, oh, wow. Okay. That, they all say the same thing, but the perspective allows you to understand it better. But anyways, when doing that, I got to reading about the manuscripts and how they came to be and who wrote what and how it was written and all that stuff. And I'm a history guy. I like history and I like that kind of stuff. And so I became just engulfed with it. I just love that conversation and understanding that stuff. And so I found my main translation that I really like, but I read them all. Well, not all, all of the good translations. So
what is your favorite?
Yeah. So I found, so the church I grew up with the NIV, and everybody did, right? 1984 version. That was sold billions of copies. And then the church in Tennessee that we were part of read the CSB, the Christian Standard Bible. Really liked the CSB, great translation. And then when I went down this rabbit hole, I've always had an ESV. I've always had a King James, always had that. But I found a translation called the Berean Standard Bible, the BSB. And long story short, if you've gone and you've looked at BibleHub.com, the translation that they show is the BSB because it's a translation that they commissioned years ago. And I just like the way it translates. It's kind of in that middle between like a more literal, really hard to read, like King James, ESV, but not quite as loose as like a New Living Translation. So yeah, the BSB is the one that I like. And you can't find them. You have to go to their website and you can buy a Bible from them. They don't have like nice Bibles, but you could buy just the text block, just the no cover on it, and then I sent it to a rebinder and had it rebound. And so I've got a genuine leather one that I had to rebound. But yeah, so that's the main one I read. But I honestly read all of them right now. The ESV has been the one I've been reading the most. But yeah, so little.
I made a practice of doing that about probably 6 years ago now, maybe 7 years ago. I said I'm going to read a different version every year just to get familiar, because they do word things differently, and right. you can glean a lot of information just from hearing it said differently.
Absolutely.
It's the same message. There's some differences, of course, there's going to be, but I have my favorite too now. And the ESV is my second favorite.
Okay.
But my first favorite is called it's the TS 2009 ISR scripture. So they have replaced Lord with the Tetragrammaton Hebrew, because I've really gotten into Hebrew now. So I'm taking Hebrew. I'm doing it online by myself, but I'm loving it. But what I notice about this Bible is when I come up to the name, the name of God, which is, I don't know how to say it. People say Yahweh or Yahoo. There's a whole bunch of different ways to say it, but it's the Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey are the 4 letters.
It's the breath, right? Yep.
Yes. Right. But when I'm reading and it comes to the Tetragrammaton, my heart skipped a beat, because I'm like, oh, whoa. Because Lord doesn't give you that impact. But when this is Creator God right here speaking. Like, wow, I better pay attention.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite Bible now.
One of my favorites for study purposes. Now, I do like the translation. It's okay. Is the NET, New English Translation?
Okay, I haven't read that one through a year, but I've looked at it.
Right.
I've looked at a lot of them through the Bible Hub.
Yep. So the NET was the first online translation. The Net Bible is what they did that. But the thing that makes it different is you can get the resources online. I have a physical Bible of it. Is the NET Full Notes Edition, and what it is, it's a look over the shoulder of the translator. And so when you come across something, you're like, why does it say this? You can actually read the textual criticism of why the translator said that. And there's more notes in the Bible than the Bible itself. Like Genesis. It's in my bookcase in the other room, but like Genesis 1 is like a little bit at the top, and then there's a whole section of notes on like how they translate it, why you should translate it, and it's really helped me because I'll come across something, and I'll be like, why does it say that, or why is it that doesn't, I don't understand. And I'll go to the NET Full Notes. I'll look at the notes, and I'll say, oh, and sometimes it's kind of like super. Like heady, right? It's very what's the word I'm looking for? Scholastic or anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like the noun verb, done this way and this thing, and it's like I don't really know what that means, but so that's awesome. I could talk Bible translations all day. I do have a question. Outside of we'll talk about the scroll saw stuff. What has your career been, or what do you do outside of that?
So I have an early retirement from dentistry. I was a dentist.
Oh, awesome.
When I started my YouTube channel, I was practicing at that time.
Wow.
Understood. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's a big transition from working on, but at the same time, I guess you use a rotary tool for carving on people's teeth, and then you come over and carve on wood. So that's some good practice.
Yes. My husband, he's a woodworker, so he had all these tools. And when I started being interested in woodworking, he was very excited.
Yeah.
And you're right. It is a lot like dentistry. And I was amazed because we call this, and it's called this, and the same thing. Yeah. Rotary tools, bits and burrs, and little sanding discs. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dentistry. Yeah.
So your husband, okay. So I guess we can kind of roll into the scroll saw stuff. So your husband is a woodworker. And so I'm guessing there's a little influence there on how you got into because scroll saw is kind of your main. Is that your main passion
Yes.
or where you're at?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a story. How'd you get into that?
So he's always was in the shop, and we went to actually it was like a bazaar that my brother, he does some metalworking. And so he had a little booth at the bazaar, and we went to go see him and then decided just to walk around looking at other things. And when we did that, we went by a booth of Intarsia, and I just walked by it, and my husband stopped and talked to the lady, and he said, where do you buy these? And she's like, oh, I make them. And I heard that, like, you make these? So I went and talked to her, and I wrote it all down, what it was called, Intarsia. And I told my husband, I was like, I'd love to try to do this. And way back before, way early in my life, I was always an artist, always drawing and involved in art in high school and stuff, the art club and everything. So, and dentistry is like art too. I have these little art galleries in people's mouths everywhere. But I wrote that down, and I ordered the book. He got me a saw, he got me a sander, and I was waiting for a class. And he said, why wait for a class? He's like, you read the book, just try it. So I was like, okay. And so I started and haven't stopped since.
That's amazing.
So do you have the all famous, what is it? The Pegasus? Is that the scroll saw you have?
I have a Hegner.
Okay. So, I don't know what that is.
A Hegner is it. Yeah. It's people either love it or hate it.
Okay.
So I have it and I love it. I started with Excalibur, but I had some issues with the Excalibur, and it has a plastic mechanism, so the saw blade would come loose.
Oh.
And I never knew how to. I never used a scroll saw before. My husband had never used a scroll saw. He used the big tools, and so things wouldn't work out just right. And he had no clue. And I wasn't looking on YouTube. It was kind of before you could just look up everything, and so I just kind of worked along with that. But as the years went by and started my channel and everything, people would write me, hey, how come your Excalibur has this on it? Not, people could see things wrong with my saw. And so I would talk to them behind the scenes. And finally, I talked to somebody else, and they said, I have a Hegner. You should get one of those. So I'm like, okay. So I actually traded my Excalibur in for a bandsaw. So I guess, yeah. I put it on somewhere for sale, and somebody said, hey, how about we do a swap? I'm like, sure. So then I got this big, huge bandsaw.
Oh, wow.
Then I got my Hegner, and yeah.
I have not heard of the Hegner. I'm going to have to look that one up. Is that German made? It sounds like a German name.
I'm not sure exactly. Maybe I should know, but yes, it's foreign made for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's an American-made scroll saw on the market, to my knowledge. There might be American brands, but I don't think there's one manufactured in America. So,
because don't you have the Pegasus, right, Tom?
Yeah, and it's Swiss-made, I believe. It's where
Swiss.
Yeah.
Because I remember messing with the one at Workbench Con. It was super smooth, right? You could feel like
Pegasus.
Yep.
Pegasus, okay.
Yep.
So Pegasus and Pegasus are different?
Oh, so it's Pegasus, not Pegasus.
Yeah, Pegas, I think is how you spell it.
Pegasus, yeah.
Oh.
So I would like to get the bandsaw scroll saw that Pegasus has.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's a little pricey, but very nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the problem. A little pricey, yeah.
Yeah, so you were talking about how your husband was a woodworker, and then you're like, I'd like to try this. And my wife and I had a similar thing. I didn't really get hardcore into woodworking until about 4 or 5 years ago. Always have done stuff like that, but I've always had hobbies. I'm a drummer. I've been playing music for 25 years. I collect things, watches, knives, all that stuff. And my wife has always been artsy, but never really had a hobby. And so she came to me, this is before we had kids, and she's like, I've always thought about trying stained glass. And so I was like, let's go buy the stuff. We went right out and bought everything and she's taken off. She's what I would consider a stained glass professional. Yeah. So, but to see her channel all of the talent she has into this has been incredible to watch her. Tom has bought stuff from her that she's made, and it's just so cool to see that artsy side of her translate into something physical, like doing stained glass.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah, if my wife told me
Very
she
cool.
wanted to come in the shop, I would turn a backflip. now she does come in my shop, but it's always to go through my toolbox when she needs a pair of pliers or something. But as far as cutting wood, she doesn't have an interest in it. But
we did share a shop for a while. My wife came into the shop and she started taking over my shop. I'm like, I can't. Every time I want to go out there and work, I have to have her move her glass around, and so I built her her own studio. So now she has a studio that she can go, and that's her space, and I have my space.
So my husband says that. He says that I have taken over the shop, and I say to him, if you keep saying that, then I am going to. But we did add a little bit to the shop. We added a welding area, so that's his section for sure. Because
nice.
I do a little tiny bit of welding, but I usually have to have his help, with it. So
I would love to
awesome.
Learn to weld. So what type of, you said your husband does welding and he does woodworking. What type of woodworking does he like doing? Building furniture, cabinets, what?
He does a lot of furniture, and he recently got into doing epoxy tables. I actually taught him how to do it, and he has taken off and he makes these beautiful epoxy tables now. But he just made a walnut and cherry wood for his daughter, my stepdaughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she gave him the plan for it, and he just went to town, got it all done. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, does he record any of his stuff, or does he do YouTube and all that, or Instagram?
No, he's talked about doing some YouTube videos, and he has recorded, and I've recorded him making some things, but he hasn't done that on his own.
Yeah. That's cool. So what is your favorite? Now, I saw some animals, but I know you've done crosses, you've done all kind of different stuff. What's your favorite thing to do with Intarsia? Is it animals or other type things?
I'm finding that I like scenes. So instead of it being, I've done lots of animals, but I'm finding that scenes, like a house with a background or barn, or something like that. And I have a Noah's Ark scene that I want to do next. Just did it wasn't a scene, but some friends came up and we made an RV trailer. They made one and we made one. Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was fun.
So with a scene, is it multi-layered? Do you like?
Well, it just depends on what you want to do. That's what I love about art. So my husband, everything has to have like right angles and be square. He's really good at that. And me, I'm really good at the opposite, curves and, making it not symmetrical and everything.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
There's a young lady out of Florida, and it's, I think the name of her Instagram is Evergreen and Daydreams. And she's a Intarsia artist, but she also does, whereas I consider Intarsia where you're just doing different types of wood. She does that, but then she'll do some where she's painting parts, and she does like the most photorealistic dogs and stuff that I've ever seen. But then she'll also do like a boat in the water or different type stuff. She is phenomenal. She's a young lady, I would guess half our age, and just so talented. But yeah, I love seeing everybody's style of art, and that's the beauty of it, is that we could do the same identical picture and it would come out two different ways just because of how we look at the wood,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There's a Facebook group, and they're doing a project like a month. And so everybody that's on the Facebook group, they make the same project. And I started doing that, but I've been so busy. I've been away from the shop so much this last year that I haven't been involved like I'd like to, and like I have been in the past. Hopefully things will slow down the end of November for me. But anyway, it's fun to see. Like you said, everybody has the same pattern, but just the choice of wood, the choice of grains. If you end up implementing anything else like stone or whatever, it is fun to see what people come up with.
Yeah. And also different people, like you use a rotary tool for shaping and stuff. And there are some people that are just so insanely talented with a rotary tool that I just envy. I do some with it, but I don't consider myself that good with it. Like, I'm trying to think of there's a young lady in California. She does a lot of Disney stuff. And her work is just absolutely phenomenal, but I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I'll think of it and share it with you. But she is absolutely miraculous with the rotary tool. What she can do with it, it is just phenomenal. But
so
have you seen? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have you seen I don't know his name either, but he makes the tennis shoes and it's all rotary.
Oh, yes.
With a little rotary tool.
That guy's out of, I think, Virginia or somewhere. And he has done also like some famous basketball players and stuff. But he started off, and how he got famous was, I think he made Kobe Bryant's shoe or one of the other players, and they saw it and then bought it, and after that it was like a snowball effect. There was a story on YouTube about him, but yeah, he does some amazing
I must have
stuff.
seen that story.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What kind of woods do you work? Like, what's your favorite wood to do on a scroll saw, or what do you like to use?
My favorite woods are Paduke and walnut and yellow heart, and I like to use purple heart, and I also like myrtle wood.
Oh, that's hard stuff.
The myrtle wood I've used isn't too bad.
But a lot of the exotic, the purple heart,
yeah,
kind of stuff,
purple heart. Purple heart's pretty hard.
Yeah.
But it's not as hard as ebony. Ebony seems to be the hardest, and ebony is pretty spendy, so I usually get little tiny pieces of it, use it for eyeballs or something.
Right. Have you ever done Osage orange before?
I have.
It's hard stuff too.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And it varies from tree to tree, I guess, in the shade.
Right.
I guess they all do. So
I made a boot jack. You know what a boot jack is?
Uh-huh.
I made a boot jack out of some Osage, and it was like cutting steel. I was just using my jigsaw, put a fresh blade on it, and I bet you all I did was cut out it's like a U shape, right? For where your heel goes. I bet you it took 30 minutes to cut that out. Just burning, just super hard stuff. But there's a guy, my wife showed him to me on TikTok. I don't watch TikTok or any of that stuff, but he put out a YouTube channel called Justin in the Woods. And so what he does is he takes like the state tree, and he'll do a United States map, and he'll scroll saw each of the state in their state tree, and then it puts it all together as like one map. And then he's done
cool.
Then he's done ones with like there's the state tree, but then there's the most popular tree and that kind of stuff. It's really neat because he'll talk about the tree and the wood and the different properties and how it got its name and all that kind of stuff while he's scroll sawing it and doing that. It's really quite neat. He's a really good storyteller. So you listen to him and you learn a lot. But that was kind of my first introduction. That was like a year and a half ago into the scroll saw. Like I've always seen them and never really seen anybody use one to an extent that, was impressive.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of amazing scroll saw artists on YouTube and Instagram that just blow my mind, that their creativity. And I forget this one guy's name that he does just this really abstract looking stuff. I think he's in Florida, down in Miami area, but he hand draws all these crazy pieces of art. and then scroll saws and bandsaw some of it out, all the pieces, spray paints them all different colors. And it just is absolutely fascinating but it is his own unique style of art. Like I've never seen anybody else doing that type stuff. But yeah, it's limited to your imagination.
Yeah. That's what I love about art is there's no right or wrong to it. It's whatever you want and whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's how it is too. I've always thought that with music. So like I played on worship teams my whole life and played in the biggest scenario, biggest arenas to down to just for a couple people, right? Playing drums. And I can play a song note by note, right? If you give me the song. But the best part about music is that I can add my own touch and my own flair and my own, my own interpretation of how that song and music goes. And for me, I can listen to music, and I know a lot of drummers and all that, and I can hear and I know by the nuances on, I think that's what's his name.
Oh, wow.
Just because, you can tell that difference between how they articulate the stick or how they do their ghost notes or whatever it is. But but it's all different, right? I could play the same song as the next guy and we both sound different, but we get the same thing accomplished, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat. So, So, Sai, what do you got going on in the shop right now? Do you have any projects in the shop? What are you working on?
I have quite a few unfinished projects. My friend calls them UFOs, unfinished objects.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. But I have an Intarsia that I started a while back. It was part of that Facebook group I was telling you about, but I have never finished it. So everybody else got theirs all done. So I'm months and months behind. And then now I just finished this other Intarsia with my friends because we have a plan for our Intarsias to go somewhere. So we're going to be taking them somewhere and putting them up somewhere. But what else do I have? Oh, I have benches. I like to restore benches. Those benches that have the metal, like metal and wood. Yeah. So I restored one before and I loved it. And you find them at garage sales for cheap, So I found two more and I want to restore those. And I just want to have them in our yard in different places. And so I have that I need to get done. And I have a old chest, big old chest, like a blanket chest. And I want to restore that. I have somebody that wants it, so restore that. But I always have something going.
Yeah, it's fun. I've restored one thing, and I actually had a lot of fun with it. I don't know why I don't do it more often. It was a kitchen island on wheels, like a little not very big, like maybe 18 inches wide by 28 inches long. With a shelf and on wheels. And it was a really old one, but it was a solid maple top and maple side. Like it was all maple. I was like, well, that's nice stuff. And so I got it for like $10 and the top was cracked in it. And so I finished the crack. It was on the glue seam and I rejoined it and glued everything back together, ran it through the planer, got everything really nice. The bottom, the base was all cheaply put together. I put real joinery in it and really kind of solidified it. And I spent, I bet you, a weekend on it. Like it wasn't a bunch of time. And I bought that thing for $10 and I sold it on Facebook for $300.
Wow.
Because now the top, I redid the top and it looked gorgeous. Cool. And I just painted the base white, because that's the look everybody wants, right? White base, and it's like, wow, that's pretty lucrative. I wonder what else I could find, but I just haven't had the time or the efforts to put into that. But restoring stuff is fun. My wife's always talked about wanting to restore old furniture. She likes that idea. Once we build our big shop, maybe we'll have the space to do it then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So talking about hard wood, maple, that's a hard one.
Depends. You have hard maple, soft maple. I count it as a hardwood. I don't think it's as hard as some of the other stuff like the Purple Heart or any of that, like the exotic stuff, but it is pretty tough. I know I recently have worked with some hickory. That's mean. That stuff's mean, and it splinters when you're like ripping it down on the table saw. It's just like splintering out, and like I didn't like that stuff, but it looks great and it's really hardy. So awesome, Tom. What about you, man? What you got going on? Have you got your dust collection up and going yet, and are you woodworking yet?
Yes. Praise God. Yes. And and I'm loving the new layout of the shop. I was putting some lights up in my shop, and in order to do it, I had to move a bunch of tools, and I had wanted to rearrange. So while I had everything moved, I decided to rearrange everything. I rearranged it 3 or 4 different ways, but I really like it now. So, but yeah, this week I got, ironically, talking about scroll saw. I'll be on my scroll saw, that and the CNC mostly. So I'm working on a piece of art for my daughter's 21st birthday that's in a few weeks. So this will go above her bed. So I'll show some pictures on it on August 7th on her birthday. I don't want her to see it before then. But
yeah.
Yeah. But out of curiosity, what type of rotary tool do you use?
I'm a garage sale person. So I have garage sale finds. I have my favorite one I got for $3.
Wow.
So I don't even know what brand it is, but it's just a cheap little rotary thing. But I found a bit that I had made a cutting board, and it was real big, and I had routed out a juice groove, and it burned it when I routed it out. And I did it slowly, but it burned it. And so I tried sanding, and it was end grain, so I couldn't sand it out. And I looked and looked and looked and looked. I finally found this rotary. It's a little ball that fits on your rotary tool. And oh man, that thing worked so well. Just took that burn right out of there. But as far as a fancy rotary tool, I don't have a fancy one. I just have cheapos. And then if they die, I can find another one for $3 or $10 at a garage sale.
I've never seen one at a yard sale. I mean, you're getting lucky. When I go to yard sale, there's always seems to be junk. I'm like, what, I have a cordless one, and it works, but the problem is I burn through the batteries too quickly, and so I'm wanting to buy me one that plugs in so that way it quits, because I only have a few batteries for it's a Bosch 12 volt, and it works great for what I had originally bought it for, but not when I'm doing a bunch of stuff. So that's why I keep asking what people like. So I've got one friend that has the Ryobi, and a couple friends that have the Marathon, and then there's another expensive brand, but that's out of my budget. I cannot. I forget what you call that. It's probably like the most popular for the wood carving.
Yeah, so I have a Dremel.
Yeah,
I have a couple Dremels.
Yeah,
I think I've actually bought one. It's not a garage sale Dremel. It's one I bought, but I like my cheap $3 one better. Just the way it's shaped. Yeah.
Well, I bought a Dremel years ago. I don't remember what I needed it for. And it was just like a cheap one. It was a Dremel brand, but it was like $20 with like a few like cheap bits with it, like this little pack. And then somebody, I don't remember who it was. Might have been my father-in-law. He's an auction guy. He'll go to auctions. And now I've got a nice Dremel in like a big plastic case, like a decent one.
Nice.
I've never used it. They gave it to me, and I haven't used it yet. But
so auctions. I have a friend that lives in Pennsylvania, and she says she goes to auctions, and that's not a thing over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, auctions are more like if there's a big farm and they have a whole bunch of farm equipment, then they have these auctions. But for little garage sale things, no, it's a garage sale. It's a sale.
Oh, well, we have garage sales here. Auctions, I mean, lots of like, you call them auctions, estate sales, right? To where, and the farms are a big one, right? I'm in Amish country, right? And so there's a lot of that happens, but you'll go to these auctions and yeah, they're going to auction off the whole 100-acre farm, but all the contents are going. And so you can go and you can find tools and give them 50 cents for them or $1, right? Or they'll do whole lots where my father-in-law is notorious for this. He'll wait to the end of the auction, and the auctioneer also always put like a big group of stuff together and like, what do you give me for this, right? And he's bought in whole truckloads of stuff for $20, right? Just
Wow.
like, and he'll sell stuff and flip it, and he sold it. I think that one he got the one for like $10 or $20, and sold one thing out of it for like $1,000. I mean, just insane. So yeah, auctions are pretty prevalent around here. And then just 5 miles down the road from me is a tractor auction. And so what it is you can take in under consignment your tractors, farm equipment, old trucks, all kinds of stuff like mowers, whatever you have, and you can consign it to this auction. And there's huge, hundreds and hundreds of people will show up. It's the last Saturday of the month or the first Saturday of the month, one of those. And there'll be like, you can't get down the road. There's so many people, and Amish are there with their buggies, and like, it's a whole thing. So I live in the country. The closest gas station is 10 miles from my house. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the squirrels run the data on the polls so we can do this call. Like, I don't have any fast internet, and I'm an IT guy. So, it is what it is. So,
the town I live in is pretty small. It's about 12,000.
Oh, nice. 12,000. Oh, that's big. Yeah. It's about 400. The town I live in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We do have a post office.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, kind of convenient, but yeah, we're way out in the sticks. I'm surrounded by Amish and farms, and but I tell I'm 45 minutes from work, and so I have to commute every day. I work from home 1 day a week, but it's the only way that we can afford the land. Like, we have 25 acres, but we couldn't afford that anywhere closer to Erie, PA, right? It's just close to a bigger city. It just gets more expensive. And so we're way out here, and we love it. I just got home from my in-laws about 30 minutes before jumping on the call, and there was a raccoon out by the apple tree eating apples. Like, I love it. We got deer, we got bear, we got bobcat, we got coyotes. We got it all. So I have been in the shop, Tom. Oh. You'd be surprised to know. Yeah.
Did you get that circle cut out that you?
No, but I haven't done that yet. But that's what I was in the shop doing. So to give the backstory, I may have told this in the podcast, so forgive me if I have. Guy I work with knows I'm a woodworker. Came to me and said, "Hey, we just moved in a new house. In the move, Lazy Susan that we have broke, and it was a wedding gift. Would you be able to fix it?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, send me pictures of it. Let me see what you got." And he sent me a picture of it, and it split right down the glue seam. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine. I could probably glue that back together, no problem." Well, he brings it in, and he tried to glue it himself. And so both edges are just chalked with glue, dried. Like, I can't do anything with that at that point. I have to, join down the edges. And so I did that. And when doing that, the circle is no longer a circle, right? If I try to glue them back together. And so I'm going to end up gluing them back together and making a circle jig. Well, I say that I'm going to talk to him first, because I know it was a wedding gift, but I hate to be the bad news to him, but I found it on Amazon for $50. It's an acacia, Lazy Susan. And so, I mean, I can try to spend the time to redo this for you, man, but it's not like an expensive, it's just like a Hobby Lobby kind of thing. And I don't mean that like, I know it's a wedding gift, but like, if I'm going to spend, so far I've got roughly 2 hours in it just by scraping the glue off the sides and then running it through the joiner. And so how much time do you want me to put into it, So I'm going to talk to him about it tomorrow at work and see what direction he wants me to take it in. Because he told me initially, he said, well, if you can't fix it, you can just make a new top. Well, if you just want me to make a new top, then I'll charge you $50. I'll buy one off of Amazon and I'll use that top and put it with the base. And now you have half of your, because I don't know. We'll see what he says, but yeah, so I was out doing that, kind of trying to clean the shop up a little bit as much as I can in the time that I have. And and Cy, you probably appreciate this. So I've got 2 young kids, 4 years old and 16 months old. And my priority is not the shop anymore. It used to be, back before kids, I'd be out in the shop till, 1:00 in the morning. But now I've kind of come to the grips that family is more important. And so when I get time to go out to the shop, I'll go out there. But like, I can't go out and run my planer or joiner. I can run the table saw, maybe the dust collector, but it's so close enough to where the kids sleep that is an attached garage that I can't just go out and woodwork like I would like to. And so,
yeah. So maybe when they're a little bit older and they can be involved in it, then you'll get back out.
Yep. Which is one of the reasons I bought a saw stop, is because if my boy decides he wants to get out in the shop, and it's one of the tools, at least I can trust that if he uses, aside from kickback, he's not going to cut his finger off.
Right. Yeah. Hey, so Will, do you have a CNC like Tom does?
I do not. Eventually, maybe. It's just not anything that I've been interested in. But I say that, and I said that about a laser, and now I have a laser. And so
I have a laser, and I love my laser. So my laser, yes, my scroll saw and my laser.
Which
laser? How much. I have the Ortour Laser Master Pro 2.
Okay.
So open diode.
It's Yep. Yes. It's not a CO2. It's a diode laser.
Yep.
And it was like $350 new, 4 years ago. And so it was cheap little laser, but wow, I can do so much stuff with it. I love it. And I could put my Bible verses on the back real easily now.
Yeah.
I like to put Bible because, the word of God never goes void, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay, if I could put a Bible verse on every one of my projects, then whoever has it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I used to do a method where you use a toner, print it off with a toner printer, and you print it backwards, and then you can use heat and you rub it with the heat, like with a wood burner.
Heat transfer, yeah.
And it transfers it. Yep. But now with the laser, like,
yeah.
And it looks pretty. And
yeah, I have the X Tool D1 Pro. It's the same thing. It's an open frame diode.
Okay. Yeah.
And I enjoy using that. It can be because it's attached garage, and so if I have to do a big engraving, I can open the garage door, put a fan in, because I don't have it exhausted outside. I do have an enclosure, and I have it coming exhausting out of the enclosure, but it just goes into the garage, and that stuff is not good, especially like leather. If you ever engraved leather.
Yes.
Oh my, that is some nasty smelling stuff. Yeah. And then I engraved cherry the other day, and cherry burns easy when you're woodworking with it, but engraving it has a really strong smell. And so,
have you ever cut with a saw, an antler?
No,
that smells just like human enamel.
Really?
Yeah.
I know the smell from going to the dentist and doing, so I know the smell.
It's like it takes me back. It's like, oh.
Is it? Is it teeth and fingernails? Isn't all the same kind of thing?
Fingernails are a little different.
Are they? Are they? Okay.
But I think that the tooth and the antler are very similar.
Interesting.
I
can smell it
going
now.
To the dentist. And then sitting there and grind. Oh.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not a big dentist fan. No offense. I just never have been. Bad experiences. But what I found is if you find a one that's nice and they're gentle and they're kind and they care about the patient care, it makes it so much better. But when you go to these old guys who are just like, open up,
Oh man, I tell
Yeah.
you. Well, I will come hang out with you at your wood shop when I come to see my wife's sister, but I'm not going to the dentist. I do go
I
to the
won't touch you.
dentist, but even at my age, I still every 6 months we go get our teeth cleaned. I'm just like to sit there with your mouth open and then, grinding on everything.
It's very unnatural, really.
It
you know.
is.
Right.
But it's such a nice thing to have a very healthy mouth.
It is. After you leave, you're like, oh, my teeth feel so good. But the process of getting there is just like, oh.
Yeah. See, I've always had teeth problems. And so I've got really deep cavities in my molars and stuff. Like, I don't know, whatever that means. I don't remember. So it's always just been problems.
Yeah, I didn't take care of my teeth, when I was like up to age 8. And I'm not sure what happened with my family dynamics, but I had pretty bad teeth. And so I was always scared of the dentist. And I didn't get over that fear until I was performing dentistry. Like,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
this isn't so bad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
Very
Si, we
good.
really appreciate you coming on and look forward to seeing you continue to make stuff. So I know that you have Instagram and a YouTube. So tell everybody where they can find you at if you're on other social medias and stuff.
I have a website, which is a Size Corner at WordPress or sizecorner.wordpress.com. And it's basically the same thing as my YouTube channel. I just put my YouTubes on there. And so I have YouTube, that website, and Instagram. I used to have a Twitter, but I closed that when it was still called Twitter. I don't have that anymore. But I also have a Cloud Hub or Clout Hub. See, there's so many different names of things. Clout Hub and Odyssey. And Rumble and Lighthouse. So I just post, but I don't do anything above and beyond what I do at YouTube. However, I'd like to add my spiritual journey in there somewhere. And I started the channel calling it Size Corner because I wanted to maybe do more than just woodworking. So it was the corner of the shop, but it's like also my corner of the world type of a thing. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Anyway, we'll see. Yeah. Or maybe I'll just start a whole new thing, but I'd love to do what you guys are doing interviews with people, talk about, your faith walk.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do it.
It's been interesting to see the people that, that maybe I've watched for years on YouTube or whatever, and they're believers. And we have some
That's cool.
some that don't like coming on or haven't wanted to come on because they're like, oh, I don't really have a testimony, or whatever. It's like, no, your testimony can touch somebody. We have thousands of people that listen to the podcast, right? Or hundreds, but like thousands of listens, and like somebody's gonna listen.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You never know who you're gonna touch and how. I've heard people say they listen to some radio station and that's what changed their mind about faith, coming into faith. And because I think about me, it's like, well, that would have never done that for me. But everybody's different and everybody's touched a different way. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, we thank you for coming on, and everybody go check out Size Corner on YouTube and Instagram. And until next week, I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.